Welcome to the first topic in our series on medical devices, covering the scope of what makes a product a medical device. In this session, we'll first cover the definition of a medical device and explore the different categories for these products. We'll introduce the regulations and how they apply for medical device products within the European Union. And lastly, we'll look at some simple questions you can ask yourself to determine how the medical device regulation applies to your product. We'll start by examining how the medical device regulation defines a medical device, as mentioned in Article 2, Part 1. Read through our summary on the right and try to think of examples of medical devices for each of the bullet items listed. You might have thought about products that can provide test results, or treat a disease, or imagined a medical software that interprets signals and provides advice. Or maybe you thought of implants such as artificial knees or pacemakers. But did you consider furniture items like a wheelchair or a bed? Yes, these too can be classified as medical devices if they are intended to serve a medical purpose, which is outlined in the device's intended purpose. If a device does not serve a medical purpose, then it is a consumer product. This is a heated blanket, a product you can find in many stores and which is used by many people. Most of the heated blankets are not medical devices, but if the manufacturer states that it can ease back pain or help persons with certain diagnosis to keep the right temperature, then it is a medical device. Because medical devices are intended to be used by persons that suffer from disabilities and may have less capacity and resistance towards certain risks, specific regulations apply to protect their safety. For example, a person who uses a heat mattresses because of a medical need, like pain, may also have reduced ability to move, such as in this case to move away from their bed if the mattress gets overheated. Or someone with loss of sensation and problem with temperature regulation might not even feel if they are starting to get burns from an overheated blanket. This places responsibility on the manufacturer to mitigate these as possible risks, but also to show evidence that the heated blanket really does help with ailments it's intended for, such as heat therapy. Another example is scissors. There are many different types of scissors, which vary in design based on the purpose. Safety scissors can be used by children, whereas ergonomic scissors with razor-sharp blades are used by stylists in the hair salon. And of course, we know that scissors are often used by healthcare professionals in both sterile and not sterile environments. Each of these devices creates a bit of risk to a human when they are being used, so do we consider all of them medical devices? Well, it depends. If the scissors are intended to be used during surgery or as part of a medical procedure, then yes, they may be considered medical devices with certain requirements to fulfill, such as the possibility to sterilize, or that the product is made out of a biocompatible material, and that it is fit for the purpose in the procedure. If there is no medical purpose to the device, then it is most likely a consumer product. For medical devices, we know they serve a medical purpose, and we describe this in our documentation as its intended purpose. We further clarify this purpose for our technical documentation into a formal statement with required details, which is called the intended use statement. This statement outlines not only what medical need your device addresses, but also how it achieves this and functions. It should include answers to the questions such as how long or how many uses it will work for. Are the users patients? Medical professionals? And where will it be used? At home, hospital, or even during transport? An important distinction for medical devices when comparing to medicines is how the product achieves its primary mode of function for use. Where a medicinal or pharmaceutical product, such as drugs, vaccines, or insulin, may treat disease through pharmacological, immunological, or metabolic actions, a medical device does this instead through technical or mechanical actions. Pharmaceuticals have separate regulations and classifications that apply to them, and we will cover these in a later session. In vitro diagnostic devices, IVDs, is a subset of medical devices being used to perform tests on samples such as blood, urine, or tissue taken from the human body. The term in vitro means in glass, indicating that these tests are typically performed in a controlled environment outside the body. Examples of IVDs include blood glucose meters, pregnancy tests, and COVID-19 test kits. IVDs range from simple home use tests to complex laboratory instruments. For instance, a blood glucose meter helps diabetics monitor their blood sugar levels, while a PCR machine in a lab can detect genetic material from viruses. IVD products help diagnose diseases, monitor health conditions, and guide treatment decisions. IVDs are regulated by IVDR, while diagnostic devices used for in vivo diagnosis are regulated under MDR. There is also a growing group of products called combination products, which can involve both a medicinal product and a medical device. Here, the regulations that apply depend on the product's primary mode of action. Is it pharmacological or mechanical? It is often easy to determine the primary action of the product. But if you are unsure, regulatory authorities in both the EU and the US provide guidelines and are available to discuss the primary action, as it is crucial to get this right early on. Ultimately, it is always the manufacturer's responsibility to ensure compliance with all applicable regulatory requirements. The medical device and in vitro diagnostic regulations are essential for ensuring the safety and effectiveness of medical devices. As a designer, inventor, or startup owner, understanding these regulations is crucial for bringing your device to market. To achieve CE marking, the legal manufacturer must define the intended use of the device and generate data and documentation to verify compliance with regulations. This process ensures that medical devices sold and used in the EU meet stringent safety and performance standards. The regulatory framework consists of EU regulations and directives, which are binding across all member states. These are complemented by national regulations that address specific local requirements. Harmonized standards play a key role in this framework, providing internationally recognized benchmarks that support regulatory compliance. The Medical Device Coordination Group, MDCG, issues detailed guidance documents to help implement these regulations. Additionally, national competent authorities may publish their own guidance, which is important for compliance at the member state level. Compliance with these regulations is evidenced by the CE mark, which is required to sell medical devices in the EU. This mark certifies that the device meets all applicable regulatory requirements. As a consumer, you might be familiar with various software products like wellness apps, training apps, and apps designed to help with weight loss, sleep, or anxiety. Depending on their intended use, these apps may or may not be classified as medical devices. Many medical devices also incorporate software, ranging from simple devices to those with complex software managing critical patient controls and calculations. Examples include thermometers, insulin pumps, MRI machines, and blood sample analyzers. If your standalone software qualifies as a medical device, it must meet regulatory requirements similar to physical medical devices, including CE marking in Europe, with the process varying based on the risk level associated with the product. Key questions to determine if software is a medical device include: does it meet a medical need? Is it an accessory for a medical device? Does it drive or influence the use of a medical device? For example, a smartwatch app that alerts users and doctors to irregular heartbeats is considered a medical device. Likewise, software intended to drive a medical device, such as programming software for an implant, also qualifies. Let's summarize. Medical devices can range from simple tools to complex equipment and software that use mechanical means to achieve an intended medical purpose. Medical devices are regulated under either the Medical Device Regulation MDR or the In Vitro Device Regulation IVDR as applicable. But it all boils down to your intended purpose. Does this purpose serve a medical need? And the main way it works must not be based on the use of drugs, the immune system, or metabolic processes to be considered a medical device.